You know that feeling. It's 5 p.m.
Oh, I do.
You've been at your desk for 8, maybe 9 hours. Sent, what, 40 emails? You've been all over Slack.
3 Zoom calls at least.
Exactly. You are just exhausted, jittery from caffeine. But then you look at your actual to-do list, the big stuff,
The projects that matter.
and you realize you haven't moved the needle on a single one. Not one.
It's the busy but stagnant paradox.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
It feels worse than stagnant, though.
Yeah.
It's this, hollow feeling, like I ran on a treadmill all day long just to end up in the exact same spot. And for a long time, I just thought, well, that's the price of a modern job. That's just what work is now.
Right, the new normal.
But the research we've been looking at today says no. This is not just some annoying side effect of work. It's a structural crisis in how we're using our brains.
It is. We're not just distracted sometimes. We have fundamentally changed the default setting of our minds. We've shifted from, a state of focus to a state of constant fragmented attention.
And we've convinced ourselves that's a good thing.
That's the scariest part. We think all that fragmentation is what makes us productive.
Which brings us perfectly to today's deep dive. We are unpacking Deep Work by Cal Newport. And looking at the notes, this isn't just another how to get more done book.
Not at all.
It's a much bigger argument, it seems, about the actual value of your brain in the 21st century.
It's a pretty radical argument when you boil it down. Newport is basically saying that the ability to focus without distraction, it's becoming incredibly rare.
Okay.
And it's becoming rare at the exact moment it's becoming more valuable in our economy. So the equation is simple. If you can master the skill, you win. If you can't, you risk becoming obsolete.
Obsolete is a heavy word. I mean, that sounds a little alarmist.
It's meant to be.
So let's get precise before we dive into the doom and gloom. How is the source material defining deep work? Because I feel like I work hard every day, but I suspect that's not what he's talking about.
No, it's definitely not the same thing. He has a very strict definition. Deep work is professional activity performed in a state of distraction-free concentration.
Okay, distraction-free.
And this is the key part. It pushes your cognitive capabilities to their limit.
So,
Yeah.
answering emails while I'm half listening to a podcast,
Duh.
that doesn't count.
Not even close. That's what he calls shallow work. Deep work creates new value, it improves your skills, and it's hard to replicate.
Like a coder trying to solve a really complex bug.
Exactly. Or a writer figuring out a difficult chapter. Or a strategist mapping out a 5-year plan. You physically cannot do those things while checking your phone every 10 minutes.
But that's the pushback, right? That's what I feel. Why not? I mean, I know I shouldn't, but can't I just multitask, just dip in and out of it? I feel like I'm pretty good at toggling between a spreadsheet and a chat window.
You might feel like you're good at it, biologically though.
Yeah.
They're not. No one is. And this is a key insight from the research. It's a concept called attention residue.
Attention residue. That sounds like something I need to scrub off my brain.
That's a great way to put it. So Newport cites this research from Sophie Leroy, and she found that when you switch from task A to, say, task B,
Right.
your attention doesn't just instantly follow. A residue of your attention stays stuck thinking about the original task.
So if I'm writing a big report and I quickly check an email from my boss, even if I go right back to the report.
Part of your brain is still processing that email. You are operating with partial cognitive capacity, and if you do that every 15 minutes,
You're just permanently working in a state of semi-distraction.
you're effectively lowering your IQ for the entire workday.
That explains the 5 p.m. brain fog. It's not one thing, it's cumulative. I'm giving myself a cognitive hangover by 10 in the morning.
Exactly. And this sets the stage for his whole economic argument. If everyone else is walking around with this attention residue all day, unable to think deeply,
Then the person who can focus has a massive advantage.
less superpower.
Let's dig into that superpower idea. Because usually when we talk productivity, it's about, little hacks, keyboard shortcuts, calendar tricks. But he's talking about straight up market economics.
He is. It's the scarcity principle. Basic supply and demand. In our economy, shallow work, answering emails, attending meetings, just moving information around, it's easy to replicate.
And easy to automate, I'd guess, or outsource.
Right. It's low-value work, but deep work.
It's rare.
Extremely rare. And because it's rare, it's high value. He says there are a few groups who will thrive in this new economy, and one of them is people who can master hard things quickly.
Because technology is just changing so fast now. If you can't learn the new system, you're out.
That's the crux of it. To learn something complex, you have to fire the same neural circuits over and over in isolation. That process is called myelination.
Myelination. Okay, break that down. That sounds like high school biology.
It is, but it's so crucial to why deep work actually works. When you focus intensely on one skill, you force a very specific neural circuit to fire again and again. This triggers special cells to wrap layers of something called myelin around those neurons. Myelin is like insulation on a wire. It makes the signal travel faster and cleaner.
So deep work is literally insulating my brain wiring to make me faster and smarter at something.
Yes. And here's the kicker. If you're distracted, you're firing too many different circuits all at once. You don't get that focused myelination. You don't learn as deeply or as quickly.
So the person doing deep work learns the new AI tool in a week.
While the distracted person is still fumbling with it a year later because their brain literally hasn't wired itself to understand it. That is the competitive advantage.
That's really compelling. It frames focus not as just a nice to have, but as a survival mechanism.
It is.
But here's the tension I always feel. This sounds great for a professor like Cal Newport. He can lock himself away and think big thoughts. But a manager, someone in sales.
Right. Anyone in a corporate job.
Yeah, if
Well,
they just disappear for 4 hours, they get fired.
that is the big objection, the shallow work trap. And Newport addresses this head on. He acknowledges that, yes, some jobs require connectivity, but he argues we vastly, vastly overestimate how much is actually required.
We think we need to be available instantly, but we really don't.
We do it because shallow work is easier. And, more importantly, shallow work is visible. He calls this busyness as a proxy for productivity.
Oh, man, that hits home. If I send an email at 10 p.m.,
Yeah.
it proves I'm working.
Right?
But if I'm just sitting there thinking deeply with my feet up on the desk,
Yeah.
I look like I'm slacking off.
Precisely. In the absence of clear indicators of what it means to be productive, we just default to visible activity. We do a lot of things, very visibly. But are we producing value or just activity?
The difference between motion and progress.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sold. I want the myelination. I want the superpower. I sit down. I close my email. And 5 minutes later, I am itching to check my phone. It's a physical feeling.
That's because it is physical. Your brain is addicted to novelty. And this gets us to the next big idea. Focus is a trainable skill. You can't just decide to go deep if you've spent years training for distractions.
It's like trying to run a marathon when you haven't jogged in a year.
That's a perfect analogy. Newport wants us to see focus as a muscle. If you spend your whole life giving in to every ping, every little pang of boredom, you've trained your brain to be intolerant of being bored.
That's me. I'm standing in line at the grocery store for 30 seconds and the phone comes out. I can't
Yeah.
just stand there.
And Newport would say that single habit is destroying your capacity for deep work. Because deep work, at first, is boring, it's hard, it's static. If your brain needs a dopamine hit every 20 seconds, you will physically struggle to write that report.
So what's the rehab? How do we fix the broken brain?
Well, first, manage your expectations. If you can't focus for 30 minutes today, don't schedule a 4-hour block for tomorrow. Start small. But the biggest tactical shift isn't about willpower. It's about finding a philosophy of deep work that fits your life.
A philosophy. Okay, walk me through those. I need one that works for a messy schedule.
Sure. So he outlines 4. The first is the monastic philosophy. This is the professor in the tower. No email, no phone, total isolation. You basically vanish.
Okay, that is impossible for 99% of us. Next.
Right. So then there's the bimodal philosophy. This is where you split your time. Maybe you go to a cabin for 4 days to write, and then you come back to the chaos. Or you just take 1 day a week that is deep.
That's better. I think Carl Jung did that, right? He had his stone tower for thinking and his city office for seeing patients.
Exactly. He understood the 2 types of work couldn't happen in the same space. But if you can't even do that, there's the rhythmic philosophy, which is probably the most realistic for most of us.
Rhythmic. So like a habit, a beat.
Yes. It's simply saying every single day from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., I am unreachable. You build a chain. You don't wait for inspiration. You just have a recurring slot.
I like that. It removes the decision making. I don't have to ask, should I focus now? It's just 8 a.m., so this is what I do.
And finally, there's the journalistic philosophy. This is for the advanced ninjas. It's being able to drop into deep mode at a moment's notice. You get 20 minutes between meetings. Boom, you're in deep.
Yeah, I am. Definitely not there yet. I need 20 minutes just to find the right file.
Most people aren't. That method requires a very strong focus muscle, so you probably want to stick to rhythmic. But the key to all of them is creating rituals.
What do you mean by rituals? Like a container for the focus?
Exactly. You need rules. Where do you work? For how long? He brings up J.K. Rowling. When she was finishing the last Harry Potter book, she couldn't focus at home. Dogs barking, doorbell.
The usual chaos.
So she checked into the Balmoral Hotel in Edinburgh.
Wow. An expensive solution.
It was what he calls a grand gesture. By changing her environment so dramatically, she signaled to her brain, this is serious now. You don't have to rent a hotel, but maybe you go to a specific library. You make a specific kind of tea. You build a wall around the time.
This all leads to this idea of agency, right? Because I think a lot of us feel like victims. We say, oh, the algorithm made me scroll, or I have to answer this email. We feel passive.
This is a huge point. Distraction is a choice. We have to stop blaming the tools. Yes, social media is engineered to be addictive. It's a slot machine in your pocket.
Yeah.
But you are the one pulling the lever.
That's harsh, but it's necessary here.
The book is very firm on this. You don't need more willpower. You need better boundaries. You need to embrace what he calls fixed schedule productivity.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means you decide in advance when your workday ends. You say, I am done at 5:30. Period. No exceptions.
But wait, if I have too much work, stopping at 5:30 just means I fall behind. That sounds more stressful, not less.
Paradoxically, setting that hard limit forces you to be ruthless with the time you have. If you know you cannot work past 5:30, you stop wasting time on Twitter at 2 p.m. The scarcity of time creates the intensity of focus.
That's a scary leap of faith. But I see the logic. If time is infinite, focus is optional. If time is capped, focus is mandatory.
Exactly. And this brings us to what was, for me, the most surprising part of the book. We've talked about economics and neuroscience and scheduling, but it really ends on a philosophical note.
About living a good life.
Right. The fear is that deep work turns you into this, productivity robot. But he argues it's the exact opposite. It's the path to true satisfaction.
It connects to the idea of flow, doesn't it, from Csikszentmihalyi's research?
Yes, very much so. The best moments in our lives are not when we're passive and relaxing. They are when our mind or body is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It explains why a craftsman, a woodworker, looks so peaceful, even though they're working incredibly hard. They aren't stressed, they're immersed.
They're engaged. There's this quote he uses from a writer, Winifred Gallagher, who said, I'll live the focused life because it's the best kind there is. She realized after a cancer diagnosis that your life is literally just the sum of what you pay attention to.
Whoa, let's pause on that for a second. Your life is the sum of what you pay attention to.
Think about it. If you spend your day paying attention to petty arguments on social media, spam emails, and annoying news cycles, that is your life. That's the texture of your existence. That is what your brain records as your reality.
That makes the stakes so much higher. This isn't just about getting a promotion. It's about not having a garbage life.
It is. A distracted life feels fast, chaotic, and shallow. A focused life feels deliberate, textured, and meaningful.
To recap the journey then, we started with the problem, this attention residue, and the trap of constant busyness.
And we learned that focus is like the new IQ. It's an economic superpower that literally rewires your brain through myelination.
And it's a trainable skill. You have to treat it like a muscle.
Right, and you have to stop atrophying it with constant novelty. We looked at the strategies, the rhythmic philosophy, rituals, setting fixed schedules.
And finally, that this is about so much more than just output. It's about the deep satisfaction of mastering your craft and really owning your own attention.
From fragmentation to depth, that's the goal.
So here's a thought to leave you with. Everyone I know complains that time is moving too fast. I can't believe it's August. Where did the year go?
It's a universal feeling.
But after this deep dive, I'm wondering, what if that feeling of time speeding up is just a symptom of a shallow life? If your days are a blur of tiny distracting tasks, your brain has nothing to hold on to, no anchors. The days just blend together.
Whereas a day with a few hours of deep, focused work, you remember that day. It has weight, has texture.
So maybe deep work isn't just about being more productive. Maybe it's the secret to slowing down time and living a longer life, or at least one that feels that way.
A profound thought.
That wraps up our deep dive. Thanks for exploring this with us.
See you next time.